Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We're heading into the Wolflands, hopefully by the end of today. But before we do,
in the roads of Castle Weasel we stand strong. Brave knights and adventurers sing our song. With courage in our hearts we'll build anew. The Wolflands will be free when we are through.
I need to backtrack. I have made a terrible error. Hat tip to the guys over on Elon Musk's house of his conversation pit, if you will. Pointed out that I made some big mistakes here. And just to kind of show you my receipts, let's take a look here in our expert hirelings. One of the most experts of the experts you're likely to hire is this guy right here. He is a captain. Captain Special. And I need to show you something because I did this a little wrong. For those of you that have missed the last couple of episodes, how dare you? But let me catch up here. This is what my military looks like. I'm going to go out and reclaim a castle from the wilds out there in the borderlands. I've got 20 Lightfoot. See, there's 20 of them. They're commanded by a lieutenant. I've got 20 Heavyfoot. They're commanded by a lieutenant, second level. I've got 20 archers commanded by a lieutenant, and I've got 20 medium horsemen, again commanded by a lieutenant. One second level lieutenant can command 20 guys. Hey, that works out really well, right? I can't afford the crossbowmen yet. Maybe we'll bring some more out once we get some kind of defensive structure up. But here's the key. The numbers were a little off. I reran the numbers. I spent $200 equipping my captain. And here's the thing I forgot. You have to designate which one of these troop types he commands. Because if you read carefully, right here it is on page 30, a captain is nothing more than a capable leader. A fighter of 5th, 6th, 7th, blah, 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 right. He can command as many scores of troops as he has levels. Now, I've got a 5th level captain, old Captain Von Trapp. He can command 100 guys. And I'm thinking, all right, well, that's why I've got 85 in my unit. Because once I hit 100, I'm going to need another captain. But that's not true. The captain can command, this captain, because he's a 5th level, can command 100 guys all by his lonesome. Well, sort of. He still needs sergeants to keep those idiots in line. But you don't have to hire lieutenants. Take a look at what it says under lieutenants. This is the key that I missed. Fighter level is 2nd or 3rd, right? Can command as many decades of troops as he has levels. So second guy, 20 guys, exclusive of his sergeants. Okay, so I think that means that sergeants, 1 to 10, whatever. I've got 1 sergeant and 9 guys. A lieutenant serving under a captain extends the number of troops the captain can effectively command and control. That little bit, you have to read this stuff carefully. You have to sit down and try it, and you have to play this with other people, or at least in front of other people, so that they can say, hey, you missed a really important connection here, Mr. Wargaming. You, with your 1 captain and 4 lieutenants, can command a total of 180 guys. Not 100, 180. And here's the kicker. Because your captain commands 1 kind of guy, and that's why I designate him as heavy foot, because these are going to be the right infantry, right? They hold ground. We all like the fancy boys and their fancy horsies, and we all think the archers with their Agincourts, and we all like our captains of Faramir with their Lightfoot ambushing Oliphants way out west. But this is the meat and potatoes. These are the boys that get it done. Here's the kicker. These are effectively adjuncts. They're like special forces that can go off and do their own thing because the captain can detail each of these lieutenants. Now, I don't know, but well, we can kind of look at this. In addition, he can dictate the number of lieutenants that can be controlled. Right. So my captain here, he can control 5 lieutenants. I can basically, if I fire this lieutenant, or maybe just like transfer him to Lightfoot, then I can command 40 Lightfoot, 40 archers, and these medium horse, right? So I can have 5 lieutenants. So I can have 5 other troop types outside of my heavy foot. I can recruit up to 100 heavy foot, and that may be the smart play here. Because after I sat down and ran the numbers again, I realized, let me just show you what this looks like. The setup for my military is 6130, and for my support is 1300. So if I go with a 3-month stint for each of these guys, At $2,600 a month, I've only spent $15,300. I might need to say, oh, I could go ahead and just buy a lot more heavy foot. I'm not going to do that because I'm really anxious to get started here. But in the event that things don't go really well out of the gate, or they go well and I've got a little bit of money kicking around, I may go ahead and just fire this lieutenant and just get a whole bunch more squads of heavy foot. I might want to have like 50 to 60 of these guys hanging around in case any bad guys show up. But at least for now in our little recruiting expedition, I may do that off camera. We'll talk about it next week. But at least for now in our little recruiting expedition, I'm still comfortable with the 85. Might be a little on the light side. And really what this means is we can get started. I'm going to do this in 1-to-1 time. And here's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand about 1-to-1 time. Let's take a look at the map here real quick, and I'll show you what our hex looks like. You're not as slavishly devoted to the real-world calendar as you might think. One of the chief objectives that dullards make all the time is, well, my combat takes like 4 hours, and combats only take 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, but what if I have to spend the time walking? It takes an hour. I have to spend an hour in the session just walk. No, dum-dum. You can always advance the clock ahead. You just can't get ahead of the clock. And of course, you only really need to do that because you're trying to balance multiple players operating in fog of war who are sometimes at each other's throats. That's the way wargame campaigns work. That's the way that all the best role-playing games, which are still war games, work. So for today, if we get out our notes, and again, what I like to do here is I'm just going to like do some chicken scratchy notes here, and I'll clean it all up for my what would you call it? Like my journal, my diary. Dear diary, I never thought an adventure could happen to me like this. But I should probably say my total budget here was 100. No, I said I was going to start off with 50,000. That's a pretty good amount. So the old Roger the Hammer Steiner. Also, by the way, remember we got that hero with us, right? He's a 6th level fighter at this point. He's got to be 6th level because he's commanding a 5th level captain. All right, so our 50,000, and then we say, okay, well, we subtracted our first 3 months of salary, and then our war chest now is 34,700. We don't really need to worry about anything. Everything is kind of operating in the background. Those logistics. Our quartermaster is doing his thing. I'm paying my scribes. I'm paying my lackeys. I got people to think about that for me. So I can turn my attention now to February 1, 2025. It's the year of our Lord, 2025. Remember, we started this campaign, just so we know, that, February 20, when did we start this? Oh, we knocked off, in February. So we took 11 months off. And in that 11 months, our boy, our PC leveled up 4 times. So he spent 4. He was very good. He followed his role. He didn't have to spend a whole lot of time in time jail. My glare's awful. Let's dim that down a little bit. So that's why we said, okay, yeah, he made it to 5th level, right? It's 5 months of training, 5 months of adventuring. It's fine. It's fine. You're allowed to do that. Right. So this is, we started, we actually, I'm kind of impressed, man. We started in September, October, November, December, January, and we got up all the way up to February. It's pretty good. So we're starting February 2025, and we have to figure out some stuff here. We talked a little bit about this to start with. And speaking of, little hat tip to Antanius, he drew these character sketches of Roger the Hammer Steiner and his good buddy, Captain Von Trapp. Thanks, Antanius. These are great. This is canon. This is what they look like. This is the home hex for our adventurers. The old road is scouted. It's patrolled. And because I've got 85 guys, I'm not going to roll for encounters while we're working our way here to the village. We're going to be able to go up here, and I've got some slop built into my budgets. For example, just so we're aware, for my military budget, I said, there's $1,580 a month. You know what? 1,000. I'm just going to call it 1,600. So I've got an extra 20 gold pieces in petty cash that I can use for bonuses, for guys that do something good, or for paying off the townsfolk here to be able to go up and make camp in the pastures. And what that effectively means is that my adventure starts out on February 1st in this hex right here. This is the sub-hex. We go down the old road, and then we say, okay, we're going to move the two, what is this? Let's count hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 30-mile hex. These are 5 miles across. So we can go, along some fairly good paths. 5, 10. We're going to make camp in the low pastures here. It's winter time. Sorry about that. And then we are going to be able to start traversing around. We call this Long Lake. I have wagons. I have horses. We're going to beat a trail around here. We can, if we need to take a shortcut, we could probably bribe the little fishermen to pick up, but they're not going to be able to haul 85 guys. These are small fishing vessels, maybe 4 6-man crews. They can probably double up, take as many as 10 guys if it's crowded, but it's February. It's wintertime. It's going to be expensive. I've got all of my supplies. I've got like 2 weeks, 3 weeks worth of rations. I'm going to be sending guys out to hunt. So all together, I'm saying that when I start on February 1st, I'm going to have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have a map from my boys. And so that was 5. It's 6 hexes. I've got to journey 30 miles through, what was this one here? Through grasslands, okay? So then the question becomes, how fast can my guys move? As usual, Gary has you covered. As usual, Gary's got you covered. I am hauling wagons. I've got some draft animals, maybe some carts. I'm going to call it 10 miles a day. It's going to take me 3 days to move that 30 miles to get to the castle. The guys that are hiking on foot, they're going to be moving, call it average burden because we have all those pack animals. They're going to be able to move at 10 miles per day. I will be able to have my medium horses. They're moving through rugged terrain. They're going to be able to scout ahead. They're going to be able to look for ambushes and encounters before we even hit them. But what all this means is that as I move into the grasslands and to here, I'll check once in this hex. I'll check once in this hex, and then I'll check once in the new home hex here in the plains, okay? So this is my first encounter check, or where that's going to happen. Morning, evening, and midnight. So I'll check once on the border, once basically as they're setting up camp, and then once here at midnight, okay? Looking for a 1, we are in the uninhabited wilderness areas. So nothing, and we're on the march, nothing, and then we make camp and we get nothing. So then the next day, I'll check kind of in the morning as we're going into this, and then again when we get to that second hex. So as we're traveling, nothing. As we get to the hex, nothing. And then as we make camp, we get nothing. So on day 3, now the question is, can we reach Castle Weasel without encounter? Nothing in the morning, nothing in the evening. And that means, effectively, we're going to make camp in Castle Weasel. But the next question is, what does Castle Weasel look like? Move this over just a little bit. This is Castle Weasel. And this time I'm going to do things a little bit different. When I roll for this encounter check at midnight, what I'm really doing is rolling to find out if the horsemen who have been sent ahead to scout encounter anything that has moved into Castle Weasel. They do not. So we're going to be able to go get into Castle Weasel and make camp. And that's going to be effectively the start of our day. That is going to be February. We travel on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So now the adventure really begins on February 4th. Let me just make a note of that. But before we push the clock too far, I do want to point out one thing. If you read closely this section, frequency of encounters and all of that. In fact, I'm going to read it right now. Starting from the point of origin, there's something implicit going on here that I don't think people have really paid enough attention to. In fact, I doubt I have either. Your players will move over not only varying types of terrain, but through areas of varying movement. These land adventurers, most of this paragraph is written from the perspective of movement and motion. The procedure during daylight hours incur morning, noon, and evening. Night consists of night, midnight, and pre-dawn. These times equate to periods about an hour after the party sets forth for the day, the midpoint of the journey, and near the end when camp is being made with respect to daylight hours. During hours of darkness equate the periods to first, middle, and sleep periods, where only one or two chances exist. Okay, right. So the whole point is that now that I've got to where I'm going, I don't do this every single day. The nature of the adventure changes at this point from one of what do you run into as you're moving around to as you're moving to where the dungeon is or the exploration area to what do you encounter as you explore. And that's where we need to break out the smaller maps. This is where I need to start determining, okay, how am I going to prepare my defenses? How long is that going to take? How am I going to start clearing hexes? And the first thing to be aware of is that as you look at Castle Weasel here, there is still a tower there. We are going to have some light infantry that are going to be capable of scaling those walls. Of course, we set up camp kind of in. There's going to be a lot of different things we need to do. We need to fill in these water pits. We need to haul material. We're going to have to dig soil out. We're going to take material from what will wind up being the moats. We're going to have to repair the road coming in and out. We'll dig, some light ditches. We're going to want to build a palisade over the broken areas here where the wall was trashed. Let's be real here. This castle might not be the most defensible castle in the world. After all, it fell once, but we're going to wind up trying to improve that. There are some engineering concerns. Whoever built this castle first built the foundation strong enough to secure walls that are as high as they are. If I want to make those walls taller, I'm going to have to expand the foundations. So there's going to be a little bit of kind of wiggling to do. Let me get this out of the way. One thing that we can look at today and kind of prepare for the next episode is the construction time. And this is all general rule of thumb. There's some discretion must prevail, right? So if I want to do earth excavation, the cost of a ditch 100 feet in length, 10 feet deep, and 20 foot wide assumes a crew of 3 to 4 men will work for 6 weeks. If soil is heavy, clay, time will be doubled. All right, well, that gives us a pretty good idea here, right? Exactly how much material you can move. If I'm looking to dig this ditch, it's going to take 4 men 6 weeks. Well, how many men do I have? I've got about 20 laborers. So I may task 10 of those guys to cut that 6 weeks down to 3. At the end of 3 weeks, I'll be able to clean up the interior of this keep, right? I'm going to task we'll call it like a 12-man crew. 4 of them are going to start hauling rocks out. We can use some of the draft animals for that. The rest are going to start digging a ditch around. They're going to have to excavate. The other thing that we want to do is get a secure perimeter. And that secure perimeter is going to be, we could either build an earthen rampart, right? Here's some cost for that. But instead, I think what we'll do is I got a lot of carpenters. So we're going to build where is it here? I think you know where I'm going. So here's a ditch, 100 foot wide. And then I have to spend this money. Now, this is in addition to the laborers, okay? Hoardings, wooden. There should be a wooden palisade here. Where is it? Palisade, wooden. There you go. 100 feet long, 10 feet high, 100 gold pieces. So altogether, if I'm going to build that palisade, that's 100 gold. And wow, that's pretty good, man. And then I'll have to check and see exactly how big I make it. I might wind up going let's read the description here. I might go half high, right? Or maybe waist high. I'm not going to go waist high. I think we got to go full high. Palisade says a wooden fence of logs 6 inches thick, sunk into the ground from 4 to 6 feet, forms a palisade. Usually built atop a rampart and equipped with a catwalk in order to turn the upper portion into a parapet. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So probably about half that material we excavate will go into a rampart topped by the wooden palisade to seal up the wall. And then the other half will go to, we'll just call it leveling out the inner courtyard, building that up. And doing just general clean out. So we're going to have to spend a little bit more time thinking about that. The palisade, for the record, it says here, times assume an architect has prepared plans in advance. I don't think we really need an architect for digging a ditch. I don't think we need an architect for making a pile of dirt and sticking some logs in it. Wood construction takes half the time it takes to complete with stone. And then it does give you, if you just want to design like a small castle, it's 2 years plus 6 months. But for right now, getting ourselves a little defensive ditch around the exposed portions of the site, getting that palisade in place, and then repairing my, let's see, a portcullis will cost you 500, but I don't want that. I want a drawbridge. We're going to have to replace the drawbridge. That's going to set me back 400, okay? So we'll make some notes here. 100-foot palisade, 100-foot ditch is pretty cheap. It's only 10 gold pieces. 100-foot palisade is 100, and then we're going to replace the drawbridge. So now we have a gate for 400. So I spent 540 gold pieces out of my war chest. Taking a look at how much I had 34,700. So initial improvements is gonna set me back 540, and I'm gonna be left with 34,160. That's my budget when we sit down to play this next time. The other thing is I need to write down, so the ditch, the palisade, and the drawbridge, they can all be handled at the same time by the same crews. So I'm going to say that this is going to take me 3 weeks, okay? They'll be done on February 25th. But this is not, bear in mind, this is not a case where this isn't like a mobile game where I hit the button and there's a little status bar and nothing happens until that bar is full. Bling! So I need to figure out what kind of trouble we get up to over these next 3 weeks, because if I get up to some trouble, first we'll have a ditch in place. So that'll be a defensive structure that we can take advantage of. Then we're going to have a rampart in place after the second week, right? So let's just write that down. Ditch complete on we're starting on the 4th. So that ditch will be available on the 11th. The rampart on the 18th. And then our gate will be available on the 25th. Right? So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, until the gate's done, what we'll do is we'll have something like, a temporary, wooden structure that we can kind of like nail into place at the beginning or end of the day, or one of those things where you cut a log and you put spikes through it in like a cross section so it's really heavy, and we put 2 of those so that attackers are 3, so attackers have to like zigzag to get through them, something like that. We'll have some kind of defensive structure. I don't know what that is yet. It's kind of going to depend on what we get attacked by. If we get attacked by a dragon, none of this matters. But if we get attacked by 300 orcs, we could generate ourselves a very interesting scenario. We'll do that when we come back and we sit down in a week, and I'm not sure what day this is going live. I'll have to get better about keeping track of that. But that's kind of what we're looking at. This was a short one, but an interesting one. And the other thing we're going to start looking at next time is we'll pick up whenever that video goes live. That's when I'm going to start sending out expeditions to start clearing the hexes around our little castle weasel. Kind of short, kind of sweet. There's nowhere to go but up, or a TPK. Those are the 2 places we can go. Till next time, I'm praying for you.